Catch You Outdoors. I'm your host, Captain Rob Modies. This podcast is about living and playing in the great outdoors, especially down this way in the most southern region of the continental U.S., the Florida Keys. Catch You Outdoors is hosted by Spotify, also brought to you by your favorite podcast network. So kick back and get a taste of my Florida. This week's episode of Catch You Outdoors is number 116, titled Christmas Fishing in the Keys. Welcome, everyone. I hope this finds everyone doing well and getting ready for the season. Yep, Hanukkah is underway, and Christmas is right around the corner. And then the week between Christmas and New Year's is upon us. If you want to do any outside event, including charter fishing trips, you better get it booked now down this way in the Keys if you still can. It's pretty weird how busy that week is, but I guess it makes sense. Everyone's in town for family and they're looking to be entertained. The guides here call it Hell Week, the week between Christmas and New Year's. Doesn't seem terribly appropriate, does it? But that's what they call it, Hell Week, and so do many others in the Keys. It's one of those good bad things. The tourist money is always good, but so is the quiet that we all enjoy. So anyway, I'll get back to the fishing in December thing and what to expect in just a bit, as I usually do. In the meantime, we'll load it up with little tidbits in front here. So try to push it out to my 30. I'm trying to keep these things around 30 minutes. Every now and then I get rather talkative. Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do, right? Let's see here. The current temperatures in Key Largo on Monday, December the 11th. Low 66, high 74. Windy with a slight chance of rain. That has pretty much ended as I record this. We are now at windy, and we are now at a low at around 70. And this is in the evening. What time is it now? It's about 5:30 in the evening here. Just getting dark. Wind's going to be an issue for the next 10 days or so. Lordy, well, it's that time of year. I'm not kidding you. I looked this morning at the wind predictions, and it's insane. Tomorrow, windy, but not ridiculous, and no rain tomorrow, supposedly, until late evening. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, rain all day. So we're going to get wet, and this is the wintertime. We're not supposed to be wet in the winter, so it's kind of whacked. Then after that, it clears off, but it continues to be windy for 10 days altogether. So starting tomorrow through next Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that time frame, we're showing gusts to almost 40 on some days. Yeah, really entertaining. There won't be a whole lot of offshore stuff going on, I can tell you that. And those of us that want to fish inside are going to be figuring out a way to hide, or we're going to have the fishing DTs by the time we get to this time next week. So, hey, whatever. I can't believe the rain, though. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, like rain, like all day rains in December. It's unheard of. Well, it's not totally unheard of, but it's definitely not normal. Let's see, what else is going on with the weather? Oh, besides it also messes up the bay. It'll turn things up and turn things over. Now, that's a good thing in some cases, because there are areas where the water is just too clear right now. And putting a little bit of milk in the water will certainly help the fishing. It's not real pretty. So the people looking for the pretty stuff in the back are not going to be too pleased. But as far as the fishing goes, it should be a little better. So I'll use that as a positive. The promised cold front last week came through, and while it was a big relief from the humidity, it didn't last very long. It lasted a whole day and a half. However, now it's pretty pleasant, as I just mentioned, if you don't mind the wind, of course. But it got downright chilly. We had, for us, it was 59. I can't remember what morning that was. I believe I was doing the podcast last week about that time, and we rolled into like Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday. And the temperatures dropped, and it was very chilly in the morning. Chilly enough for long sleeve shirts over a T-shirt. Woo-woo. No socks yet. Still able to wear the flip-flops, but kind of a surprise. And then by the end of the day, the sun was out, and it was like right at 70. And the next day, the low was 66, and the high was close to 80. That's how weird it is down here. I like it, though. Let's see. My new song, Key West Town, is now available on just about every music download listening service. I mentioned that last week. Thanks for all the downloads of my song and the feedback, people. I really enjoy it. Love it. I'm glad you all are enjoying it. And yes, I'm working on three songs. Yeah. And one of them is very promising. I will present that off to my producer, Mr. Billy, here shortly and see what he thinks about it and whether he throws it out and goes do another one or it goes. Speaking of that, we're going to go there tomorrow evening. That will be when you're listening to this on Tuesday. We're going to the garden party. Brothers of Others are playing, and I am really excited about that. He has the whole group there. Last year he had bits and pieces of the players would come and play individually, but this time the entire band will be there in the backyard at the garden party. I'm really looking forward to it. You can watch this live on YouTube, and you can watch it on Facebook. Just look up Billy Davidson or do a search on the garden party in Key Largo. And Billy Davidson, just kind of put all that in there, and it'll pop up for you. The best feed I've been able to get has actually been on YouTube. When I go on YouTube, the feed is a little cleaner and a little more without dropout and things like that. It's good on Facebook, but sometimes the whole thing goes away for a second and pops back. Whereas it seems the YouTube channel one is a little better. So there you go. But I'm looking forward to that. And again, thank you all for clicking on the song and giving me a little feedback on the song. I'm really, really, really happy about that. So last week I said I can't believe it's December. Now it's almost the middle of December. Jeez, people. I'm looking at, let's see, today's the 11th, right? Yeah, tomorrow's the 12th. It's like we're almost halfway there. Good grief. I did get the decorations put up. I mentioned last week that I was headed out. I think I recorded this on Monday of last week, same as today. This has worked out a little better doing Monday evenings. So Tuesday I drove up to Fort Lauderdale and hit up the storage unit to get all the Christmas stuff out. I was so put out by that trip. I can't tell you. It was okay. I mean, it was going to the city and coming back home, but man, oh man, I do not want to have to do that again. So I found a storage unit here through U-Haul in Key Largo that worked out very well and actually wound up being less money, which really surprised me. So I'm going to slowly but surely unload the stuff out of the storage unit in Fort Lauderdale and bring it down here to Key Largo. Yeah. You know, years ago when I first started this podcast, I was in Fort Lauderdale, and I told you I enjoyed it. I still do. I enjoy the city. I do. And I enjoyed living downtown, and I enjoyed the restaurants and the beach. Oh my gosh, our proximity to the beach was less than 5. It was 10 minutes by bike, so it was less than 5 minutes by car. And we had access to a lot of beaches up and down the coast over there. And I do miss that. I miss the big puffy white sand and watching the sun come up, but I don't miss city life. And it's gone down quite a bit since we left. We've been gone almost over 2 years now. No, over a year and a half. And, the homeless situation has gotten bad on every corner. And there's just signs that the city's not what the city was. I'm sure things will get better. I'm a positive thinker. I hope it does. But my visits there this past time was like, I don't know. So anyway, it'll take a while to get the stuff moved, get it back here. I'm going to do it one Jeep load at a time. So, I've prepaid the one in Fort Lauderdale for several months out, so I got plenty of time. But at the same time, I'll be glad when it's here and I don't have to do that again. So there you go. That's what happens, But again, it's December. Got the decorations up. The house is decorated. The Christmas tree's up. And Christmas cards have been mailed. Hot diggity damn. I can't believe I did it. I really can't. I mentioned last week the business of white lights, and it's a traditional thing with me. But we both like and enjoy multicolored lights too. And we got this Christmas tree, I'm going to say it was about 3 years ago. It was after we got to Fort Lauderdale. So it was probably in the 3 to 4 year time frame. The old tree gave up the ghost. It had done its job, and it was over. And no, I don't buy live. I just can't do that. They don't last. They've gotten terribly expensive. Yes, I know about the smell and the feeling and all that. No, not in Florida. So we went and got another artificial tree, and this one's got LED lights all over it, and they change colors. You can make it all white. You can make it all different colors, So and you can strobe and flash, which we don't do. But the funny thing is we get tired of the white for a while, and we'll flip it over to all colored lights, and then we'll flip it back to all white. So I think that's really, really cool. But do you miss the tinsel tree with the color wheel? I don't know. Maybe. And aren't the digital / LED lights a blessing? I got out the string lights. I hang icicles all around the eaves of the house, In Florida, of course, you have to have icicles. Of course you do. And candles. I put candles in the window. That's something my mom did when we were little. At the house in Clearwater, we had candles in every window, which I always thought was cool at Christmas time because when you turn the lights out, we still have this glow in the bedroom of the lights in the windows. And those are all LED now. And the candles even shimmer, which I think is crazy. But they work. Every year you turn them back on and they go. They've been sitting all year in storage, right, in a box. And you turn them on and they work. And the same thing with the tree. Obviously the outside icicle lights. I marvel at this. LED lights are great. They really are. I'm sure many of you remember the figuring out which bulb was out to make the whole string work, popping it out, popping them in. But yeah, you've been there, I know. And it's horrible. So this has been a whole different thing. One thing about the Christmas tree that's been really cool is the cats. Our cats do not run up the Christmas tree and knock things out. They are not what you see in the videos on Instagram and YouTube of the cats tearing down Christmas trees. Our two cats, I guess they're older and mellower. The only way I can put it, what they do is sleep under it in the blanket. I put a blanket under the tree. The presents, of course, are starting to arrive, so they like that too. But they basically sleep under the tree. So, it's a good thing. The dryer got repaired. I have that in my notes. Last week, if you didn't listen, I was talking about my trip to the laundromat. That was really something. But it was great. The dryer dude showed up this afternoon and put a new coil in, so we have heat in the dryer. That's essential. Yeah. And so laundry day is tomorrow. It's time to catch up. It's been down for about a week, so we're due. We're absolutely due. Fishing. Yes, Janelle and I made it out on Sunday early. This was like, I don't know how to explain this. This was the calm between the storms. It was blowing all week. It was not really great. We had some serious southeast winds coming in. But Sunday was the day. I told her, I said, Sunday looks good. Now, here's the problem. It did still blow out of the southeast, and the water was rough coming home. But the trip over to the backcountry was wonderful, and getting in the back was great. And the purpose of this trip was not only to catch some fish, but was to also introduce Janelle to all the birds I found back there. We're both bird nuts. And it was spectacular. I have never, ever seen that many white pelicans in one day in huge, huge flocks. Roseate spoonbills, wood storks, every kind of wading bird you can imagine. There is this little lake back there, and there's no way you can get to it, but the birds can, of course. And that's what brings them in. And we watched shifts of white pelicans come. There would be 50, 60, 80, 100 of them come, land almost like they were resting, and then move on into the Everglades to the west of us. And then a whole another batch of white pelicans would show up and move. It was really spectacular. Got some great photos. Hopefully I'll get some up on the Catch Outdoors site, and so y'all can see it. It was really, really amazing. Janelle took some great photos. I was peeking at the photos she took on the long lens camera, and she did manage to get a couple nice ones. So hopefully I'll get those up for you so you can see them. But we got snook. I caught one, she caught two. Now here's the deal. I got mine to the boat, and it got off. It broke off. It was a nice one. Janelle got a really nice one over by the mangroves. It did 4 or 5 jumps and then just dropped the whole thing. And then she got a smaller one. We didn't get any one of the three to the boat, but it makes you happy when you get a snook. It doesn't, I mean, we both conceded it doesn't matter. You know, we'd already had a great morning. The fact that we even got out there made it a great morning. Tons of barracuda. I have never caught so many barracuda. The good news is they were around 20 to 24 inches, so they weren't little barracuda. They were nice barracuda, worth the fight. However, I have never lost that many jigs. Normally you lose jigs, you add it up to like maybe $4 or $5. I think I probably lost $20 worth of jigs. Yeah, I know. I could tie on wire, but putting wire in front of it doesn't make sense when I'm really trying to get snook. That's what I'm really after. So if the kudas win, the kudas win. It still pisses me off. But talk about constant retie. I don't think I've ever done that much retying since I was a guide. But anyway, the bushes were good. Up against the bushes, there were lots of fish. No jacks or no ladyfish this time around, which I thought was a little weird. But then again, the bait wasn't real strong this time. There was a lot of rain bait, the small stuff up against the mangroves, but we really didn't see a lot of the white bait that I've been seeing in the past. But the wind was blowing. It was a little rough out, so I guess I shouldn't be too terribly surprised about that. But all in all, we had a great morning, and we got back about 11:30, and both of us were quite sore. The ride back across the bays was, oof, yes. The wind never let down. The weatherman once again lied. He did not tell the truth. The breeze this morning, 10 to 15, dropping to 5 in the afternoon and late morning, early afternoon. No, it did not. It was still 10 to 15 when we went across the bay. I wish they'd stop fibbing. I really do. The artificial of the day was the usual gulp, twitch, and mullet in white. But Angie will probably be listening to this. Thank you, Angie, for the added pink to the mix. The actual color is called Pink Shine from Gulp, if you're looking for it. It's a mixture of pink and white. Angie used that when she was down early in the year. No, mid-year. Yes, I think it was summertime, May or June. And they used the Gulp Curly Tail grubs in that color. So I went ahead and ordered up a box, a live bait. It's in the goo, as I like to call it, of that same color, but in the twitch and mullet. And man, let me tell you what, they liked it. They liked it a lot, to where I'm going to have to order some more. To give you an idea, this white and pink mixture is like splotchy is the only way I can put it. It's a little uniform toward the tail, but mostly it's splotchy in the middle of the body. Way back, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, we used to take pink soft plastic grubs and white soft plastic gloves and put them in grubs and put them in the same package and then put them on the dash of the truck. And you let the sun do the rest. And it would make the pink splotch onto the white. And I caught a lot of snook with those. So this looks like somebody at Gulp was paying attention. Or somebody that worked at Gulp said, have you ever done this? We used to do that kind of thing. I can just hear the conversation around the board table in the boardroom, might want to look at this. And well, by God, they did. And Angie had it originally. She told me about it, and I was like, wow, I don't think I've seen those. And I went look and found them. I didn't have much luck with them, but it was after things had started to cool off, and the snook weren't where they should be anyway. But I thought those little twitch and mullet things that work so well in white, let's try it in pink white, or what did I call it? Pink Shine. That's right, Pink Shine. Give them a try. Man, it was amazing. It's for the first thing I've used since all white or all bone or all glow in a long time, and was very successful with catching fish with it the other day. So just so you know. Let's see, what else happened back there? Oh, the water looked good, 76 degrees. Bait schools, like I said, were missing, but the little bait was all around the shoreline, so that made a difference. No jacks or ladyfish this time. No other fish, just snook and kudas. I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth, but we caught plenty of fish, and we had a really, really good day. Back to the birds for a second. I used to fish in Sanibel Island near Ding Darling's National Wildlife Refuge, or in and around it, as a matter of fact. And in the wintertime, that is the best time to be at Ding. That's when the birds would all come in. The migrational birds would just come and land all over Ding Darling. The place we were at on Sunday, which is yesterday now, on Sunday, made Ding Darling look like a little lake. You have no idea the breadth of this or how big it was. It's almost impossible for me to describe. This was National Geographic quality. There were birds everywhere, coming and going constantly. When they were on the lake, that we can't even see the lake. I'd have to have a drone to see it. You could hear the noise. You could hear the flapping when the white pelicans took off. You could hear them start to take off out of the lake. That's how many birds there were in there. I was absolutely blown away by it. The glades are really something else. I mean, Everglades National Park is really something else. Something we need to work very, very hard at keeping and making sure that it survives and it's viable for years to come. I cannot imagine my grandchildren not being able to see something like this, or my great-grandchildren not to be able to see something like this. It's absolutely incredible, and I will be back. I'm going to get back there again just as soon as possible. It could be 2 weeks if this weather doesn't cooperate. This bird migration to Florida, it really is something. I'm not kidding. I was thinking about it too when I was sitting out the boat. These are the true snowbirds, sort of. Yeah, well. Yeah, kind of, sort of. Anyway, book time. Let's see. Started and almost finished Fallen Pride by Wayne Stinnett. That's a really good series. I'm really enjoying it. However, I'm going to jump off for a bit. I'm going to start on something old and new. New to me, old to everybody else. What I mean by that is I stopped reading Doc Ford novels by Randy Wayne White a long while back, I should say. And I think I need to catch up. I really enjoyed those books. I enjoyed it because they were centered around a place that I was guiding in and fishing in. And Randy Wayne White is a former tarpon guide out of the area. And so he knows his way around. And when he writes about the area in books, it's really quite good. And he also knows the glades and South America fishing and things like that. So I don't know why. I just kind of stopped. So I went and looked back. This was the hard part, was trying to figure out what I had read and what I haven't read. It's not like movies. I can remember a movie I watched years ago, but when it comes to books, it's like, okay, well, who was in that book? Oh, okay, I think I got this. So I think I managed to narrow it down to The Everglades. That's the name of the book. It was out in 2003. That's why I said it was a long time ago when I stopped reading them. And I know they're good. I mean, people enjoy them thoroughly. And I enjoyed all the books before that. I believe it or not, that the 2003 book is Doc Ford's 10th book. That's the 10th, quote, Doc Ford book, which kind of blew me away. I thought it would be like number 5 or 6. So obviously I read a whole lot more of them than I thought I had. So I think that's where I'm going to start. I have it on my Kindle. It's called The Everglades. We actually have it in hardback here in the house. At the time, we were living in and around Randy, and so we were able to meet up with him at different locations, especially his restaurants, to get books signed and stuff like that. So we have an enormous collection. But in bed at night, I would much prefer to flip on the Kindle and read it like that, by the Kindle Light, as I like to call it, rather than trying to prop a book up on your chest. And I generally read at night. I read after I go to bed, so that's my deal. But anyway, so I have it on the Kindle. I'm going to start on that one, I think, next, just to kind of get back into Randy, and I'll give you a report. Those of you that have already read it, I'm sorry. But to me, it feels like something new. That's why I said something old, something new. So, okay, this podcast title is pretty telling. Christmas fishing in the Keys. Dun, 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 dun. The Keys winter weather has set in. I guess it's time to talk about what's biting best and what's not too good of an idea to even begin to target. But if you insist on going after one of the tougher species, I'll do my best to head you in the right direction, and hopefully you'll be able to do well with those kind of fish and, I don't know, keep your fingers crossed. For example, on the upper West Coast, it was always about sheepshead this time of year. They don't talk much about sheepshead down here. Sheepshead's a big-time winter fish up in the West Coast of Florida, up around Sanibel, captivity all the way up to Tampa. I mean, the sheep's head move in for spawning in the winter, and though they don't get big, they are big. You hear about it down here on the Gulf side, way down above, past Marathon, heading down toward Big Pine. You might hear about them a little bit because they fish Gulf waters down there on the inside rather than Florida Bay. But in all honesty, you don't see much about it. The same thing with pompano, which is kind of weird. Pompano is a winter fish. Don't hear much about that here in the Keys either. I know people catch them. I don't know where, but they do catch them. We have some species that are what I call winter catches, though, and these are the ones that can be caught specifically in the winter. Well, they can be caught year-round, but they're easier to catch in the winter, much more easily. Sailfish are at the top of the list. I always mention that one because I get a big kick out of catching sailfish. They move into the Gulf Stream in big numbers in the winter and just happen to absolutely love windy days. Imagine that. Yes, they do. I honestly, I've never read why. I have to imagine just the water's churned up. They're big fish. They can maneuver through it. The bait gets tossed around like crazy. I'm sort of picturing all this in my head. And so they go after it. Also, you have to understand they are schooled up. They're not like individual sailfish, like one here, one there. They're actually grouped together in the Gulf Stream. There can be schools, 10, 15, 20, 25 fish, sails all together in one spot. And there's nothing more spectacular. I'd have to rank them right up there with tarpon, easily. And they're certainly on people's bucket list. They are not the easiest thing in the world to come by. But this is the time. This is the time you take a charter out of Alamorada, up here in Key Largo, over in the lower Miami area, Biscayne Bay. This is when the guys go out and they go chasing after these fish because they're extremely popular, and they're very, very. There's a large number of them in one spot near the Gulf Stream, so it makes it a lot easier to target those fish. Small boats have a terrible disadvantage. Like me, there's probably no chance in the wintertime that I'm going to get out to the Gulf Stream. I'll try if it's dead calm. But then again, you've defeated the purpose because the sails just happen to like the choppy water, the big waves, the 4 to 5 and even 6 to 7 footers out there. So that's what it does. This is also the time of year right now, wintertime, is the time when they can be sight casted to. The pods are big enough surrounding the huge pods of bait that you can literally throw things at them that they'll eat. So it's a pretty good thing. Sails jump like crazy. They have the most beautiful colors you've ever seen, especially when they're angry and hooked and ticked off and they get close to the boat. It's just it's like a painting. It's absolutely beautiful. So there you go. If you haven't ever caught one and you want to catch one, now's the time. Now's the time. Florida Bay is the place to be for skiffs and small boats. Quite a few species are bigger in numbers than they are in the summertime there. Number one would be redfish. They school up big time, and they cruise the upper flats where the grass meets sand, or as I call it, mud. It is kind of muddy. If you travel over it, you hit it with a trolling motor, or it leaves a mud trail. It leaves a dusty trail behind it. So when I say mud, that's what I'm talking about. As a matter of fact, up in the areas up by Flamingo and up in there in the flats up there, you can start looking for mudding rays, stingrays moving across the flats. They create this mud trail out behind them, and usually right behind them you find redfish and you find jacks. The rays kick up. The rays are searching for food. They kick up stuff which floats out behind them that they miss. The little crabs, shrimp, things like that. And, of course, the reds and the jacks follow behind them. And it's called fishing mudding rays. I mean, that's what people refer to it as. That's big in the wintertime, really big in the wintertime, and something to look forward to. Sea trout numbers are way up. You catch them in the summer, but they're spread, and you never know what you're going to get. Some days it's all little, some days it's mid, and some days it's mid with 1 or 2 big ones mixed in, but you never know what you're going to get. In the wintertime, it's a whole different ballgame. The schools are more consistent, they're bigger, and the fish are larger. So getting into sea trout is pretty good in the wintertime, and I look forward to it because I got a couple sea trout spots I'm going back to see how they do. And again, they like the cooler weather. Sea trout are more oriented toward the cooler weather. When the temperatures drop and the water temperatures drop, Sea trout don't seem to matter. They just don't care. So, which is a really good thing. Wintertime is also great for Spanish mackerel. It's one of the best places to be over. Let's see. Let me put it. The best place is probably over in the western end of Florida Bay, right where it meets the Gulf of Mexico. So you'd be above Marco Island in that area, and they come schooling in there in huge numbers as they crash surface bait. Throw something shiny, and then hold on. And by the way, they're really good eating if they are cooked on the same day they are caught. I always bring this up. I hear so many people go, I don't like Spanish mackerel. Obviously, you never ate it right out of the Gulf or the ocean for that matter. I love them light fried. Add a bit of lemon. Dip them in a little tartar sauce. Ooh, especially the tartar sauce that Janelle makes. Yum, yum. So there you go. They're easy. They're pretty easy to get into. And the schools are enormous, so you can't miss them. And then there's snook. Yep, they love catching a few rays of sun on those bright winter days. This is kind of an oddity for me personally and for others that have lived on the west coast of Florida. Snook disappear. Tampa down to Fort Myers and a little south of that into Naples. When wintertime comes, boy, those babies go up the creek. They go up the rivers. They go high. They go looking for warmer water. They do not tolerate water down in the low 60s. Heck, they'll die if it gets below 60. So they really are hunting for a place to hide out and to stay warm. That's not a big issue down here. What is a big issue is these temperatures jump up and down, which causes the snook to move around. But what they really like are these winter, bright, sunny days where they can literally come out and almost near the surface sun themselves, hide on a point, watch for moving bait, ambush feed. I mean, that's what they do best. And so I always put snook on the list for winter. I know it's backwards from everywhere else, but down here they still do what they do, and they still feed really, really well. Out on the patch reefs, lots of snapper. Waters of the Atlantic stay in the 70 degrees something or so temperature, range low 70 to 74, 3 or 4. But the snapper, they don't care. They tend to here's the weird thing. In the summer, they'll hang off the deep edge of the patch reef area. So they'll be in the 55 down to about 100 feet of water, maybe a little deeper. And you're doing deep drops trying to get the yellowtail and also the muttons out. But as the winter comes, the waters cool off and they come up. And you'll find them in 25 to 35 feet on the patch reefs. So this is your chance to get yourself a pretty decent yellowtail dinner. Again, that all hinges around the wind rather, stopping blowing like it is right now for the next 10 days. But after that, if you get these breaks, you really want to make it to the outside and run out to your favorite patch reef and start working out there. Drop some chum in the water, a chum bag, get the chum going, bring some little bits of shrimp to put on a little circle hook, let it float backwards in the chum line, and then hopefully good luck because they really do like the wintertime. Oh, heck, I almost forgot. Kingfish, king mackerel. They run, big time in the winter months, and not only are they fun to catch, but they make good eating again if cooked right away. That's another one of those mackerel you go, I don't know. But if you don't want to cook them, don't worry. They are excellent smoked. If you get smoked king mackerel, you can make some of the best smoked dip you've ever had. So trolling works for them really well. They bust the surface quite a bit. You can see them out there when they get pretty crazy. And they usually interfere with you in the mackerel fishing. If you're out doing your mackerel and you're doing long casts with something shiny, there's not, I give it a 25% chance. You catch 3 or 4 mackerel, it's not unusual to whack a kingfish. So it does happen. Although you can also get those in the Atlantic side as well, and especially out off of Key West. So it's all good. So winter fishing is not a drag. Winds are a drag, but winter fishing is not a drag, and especially December fishing. It has started. So if you're looking for something to do and you're bored and the fish where you live are hiding because it's too cold, come on down here and give it a shot. Have a wonderful week. Please spend some time outside, even if you live in one of those colder reaches of the United States. I'm sorry. I really am sorry. It's still better to be outside, though, than inside, right? That's right. Bundle up. Go outside. Have a good time and play. Thanks much for listening. Heartfelt thank you to all you folks that have supported my podcast over the last couple of years. If you enjoyed listening, please tell a friend, leave a review, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Facebook page is Catch Outdoors. Website is catchoutdoors.com, where you can find all the previous podcasts and a schedule of what's to come. Until next time, get outdoors and enjoy.